very much for joining us for this first session of the weekend under the lights, and as you can see, under a little bit of drizzle here in Diriyah. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me in commentary is the former Andretti driver Oliver Askew, and as you can see, the sun has set here in Saudi Arabia. The lights are on around this circuit, and the cars are about to head out onto the track to get their first look under the lights of this Diriyah circuit, this season at least. This is the second round of the championship. Jake Dennis won the opening round in Mexico City 2 weeks ago. A double header this weekend, so a race tomorrow, Friday, and then a race on Saturday. Hyderabad, Cape Town and Sao Paulo, 3 new venues. A double header in Berlin, and then a race in Monaco on the 6th of May. 2 in Jakarta, and then another new race in Portland, Oregon in the United States. And then double headers in Rome and double headers in London to round off this 16 race season of 2023. So drivers here a little earlier today when the sun was up. Antonio Felix da Costa getting ready to head out. Mitch Evans looking to repeat his podium performance from 2 years ago. Nick Cassidy hoping not to hit the wall this year, which ruled him out of contention last season. And Jake Hughes, after being impressive in Mexico City, getting ready to go. But that is the championship leader, Jake Dennis, as relaxed reasonably as ever. He leads the championship ahead of Pascal Wehrlein in second position. Lucas de Grassi is third, Lotterer fourth, and Jake Hughes in fifth. The top 10, naturally, the 10 point scorers from the opening round in Mexico City. So 0 points for anybody else. Max Günther finishing in 11th spot in the end, just missing out for the Maserati MSG team. And that first and fourth in the last race for Avalanche Andretti means they are at the top of the standings. 14 points clear of Tag Heuer Porsche, Mahindra in third, Neom in fourth, Maserati, Abt, Nissan and NIO, the 4 pointless teams after the opening day of the season. This is the circuit in Diriyah. You can see the centre of Riyadh and the Kingdom Centre, which is about a half-hour drive in dry conditions and in no traffic conditions from Diriyah, the old capital of Saudi Arabia, the original capital of Saudi Arabia. And this is the circuit, a run through turns 1, 2 before you start descending down the bobsleigh run all the way to the bottom of the hill at turn 14 after that fast sequence of corners. 90-degree right at turn 14, and then through the long sweeping left-hander of 16 and 17 takes you out onto the back straight, and then the big overtaking opportunity into turn 18 and 19. Attack mode is there as well into the final corner at turn 21 and out across the line. All of the, well, maybe not all, 80% of the drivers, I would say, Oliver Askew, find this track one of their favorites of the season, if not the favorite of the season.
Hello, Jack.
Hello.
Good to be back.
Great, it's great to have you back.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you didn't get fired after one race, so it's a good effort.
It's always good.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite tracks on the calendar for sure. It's a track that drivers can make a difference, you know, if they don't have the equipment perfect. The drivers can make a difference. It's a very high commitment, and it's rewarding if you get it right. So one of the fastest tracks on the calendar, that section that you were speaking of, from turn 1 to turn 11, really, it's all connected. You know, if you mess up a couple of those initial corners, it all just snowballs and can't get it perfect. So as you see here, cars leaving, entering a very cold and a bit damp circuit. Whoa.
Interesting that McLaren didn't leave the pits. They are at the end of the pit lane, so normally they get to be first out on track, but they've decided to wait in the garage and maybe let everybody else clean the circuit up a little bit. You can see there's some raindrops on the lens. We've had rain here the last couple of days, to be honest. It rained a bit yesterday afternoon and evening. It rained the night before as well. So maybe they're thinking just let everybody else go out on circuit and explore the conditions a little bit as they head out on track. This is a half-hour session we've got coming up here. As you can see, the clock in the top left as they come down to the bottom of the hill. And even, it hasn't rained all day, but some of those damp patches just aren't drying because we've had no sun, really. It's been behind the clouds all day.
No, it's been overcast all day. The track temperature right now is 12 degrees centigrade, and that's continuing to drop. Definitely not ideal conditions for a car that's proven difficult to drive over the past race weekend in Mexico. Much warmer there.
So that's the chicane at turns 18 and 19. The two Mahindras coming through, but it's the two Maseratis that are out on circuit first. Eduardo Mortara at the head of this queue. Had a accident and a win here last year. Missed the first race because of a crash, but then won the next race. You can hear them. The tyres really, it looks like they're still maybe warming up the tyres through those first few corners and doing really aggressive sort of inputs. I don't think this is sort of full push from Mortara, but I could be wrong. You're the driver.
At this temperature, we can't expect...
Look at that,
yeah,
like just full lock.
He's just overloading the front tires, trying to get them in a better window. As I was saying, at this temperature, you can't expect the tires to be in a window until around lap 8, I would say. Maybe even later than that, depending on how hard you push the tire in these early stages and depending on how stiff the car is set mechanically, possibly promoting some more heat into the new Hankook tires they have this year. It's a team that needs to bounce back from a struggle in Mexico. They were strong in Valencia.
Yeah.
And we expected them to be one of the teams to fight for victory.
Here's Mortara's radio.
Next lap we're going to be a target lap in race 3 scenario.
So doing a target lap, Alex Dardere on the radio. Then both Maserati drivers, as we see James Rossiter there, the team principal, both drivers after the shakedown session earlier on saying much happier with the car than after Mexico. The entry brake snapping had gone, which caught Mortara out and put him in the wall, and the general stability under braking was a lot better. So that was their kind of main issues. Sam Bird also had a horrible weekend in Mexico City.
One of the most unlucky weekends I've ever seen a driver go through.
He's down at the bottom of the hill at turn 14. Has won here twice, once for Envision and once for the Jaguar team in what was only his second race for Jaguar a couple of years ago. As he comes into turns 16 and sort of 17, mostly I'm going to call it 16, I think. And then up to the top of the hill. This is the big braking zone.
Braking, a massive topic, as you said, so far this year in Formula E with that. They've taken out mechanical brakes at the rear, and it's all regen braking. So this is a full course yellow, just an exercise. No one's gone off.
No,
I don't believe.
Just to check all of the marshals and everything and all the systems are working around the circuit. James Barkley, team principal at Jaguar TCS Racing, watching Sam Bird. There is race control. Scott Elkins nearest towards us, the FIA race director.
Big group of people there.
Yeah, busy, isn't it?
Important job.
Yeah, no doubt. So full course yellow, and then we'll be getting back underway. René Rast is back in the pits now. And the McLaren team look like they're waiting for him. I think he might have had a bit of contact with someone out there potentially. So it sounds like René Rast and Stoffel van Dorn might have had a bit of a tangle, but we'll see if we can get to the bottom of that one. Here is the Porsche now of Antonio Felix da Costa. Here we go. René Rast in the neon McLaren. Here he is. Oh, he's got damage to the front wing, and the front wing's coming off. So that's not good news at all for René Rast.
This is after contact.
Exactly.
With another car.
Which I believe was Van Dorn, the car behind. So that's why Rast is back in the pits now. Not the ideal start to your session. The team will come out and replace the front wing. They haven't got a huge amount of spare front wings.
Contact with Van Dorn.
Van Dorn.
Yeah.
Has this done any damage, René? Damage question?
Yeah, the front nose, we moved in the same direction when I was about to pass him. Mamma mia.
So that radio message obviously from earlier on, because I think even Stephen Lane can work out the damage on Rast's car there. both moved the same direction when he went, so it sounds like Van Dorn's gone to get out of the way just as Rast has tried to pass him.
Nose damage. Okay, so box now, please, box now.
Yeah, so that was from earlier on. 24 minutes to go. De Grassi and Roland, Mahindra 1-2 at the moment, a 1 minute 12.4 for De Grassi, a 1 minute 12.6 for Roland, but the lap times are going to continue to come down. Nato comes across the line and he now goes fastest on a 1 minute 12.144. Next across the line is Jake Dennis out of the final corner, and Buemi goes 5th, and Dennis didn't set a lap time. I think that must have been an outlap potentially for Dennis. Championship leader coming into this weekend in good spirits.
Yeah, there's something different about Jake these days.
Really?
I think, I don't know if it's pressure or what, but I do feel like he understands that this could be a championship year.
Yeah.
And it's a new focus that I think Jake has shown over the past couple of weeks.
Interesting. Yeah, because first season it was very much, you know, pressure's off, just coming and see what I can do, and sort of fell into championship contention with some good drives, but still didn't really put any pressure on himself. And then last year, the car wasn't there enough to do a championship challenge. There's no doubt about that, but I guess it's different when you're in your 3rd year now. You've got a car that wins the opening race of the season.
Feels like there's a lot of drag when I lift.
I didn't quite catch that personally from Dennis, but yeah, I guess it's a different mindset you've got to take into the season. Goes quickest, 11.978, 400ths quicker than Jake Hughes, but now Hughes goes back to the top of the times on a 1 minute 11.6, so 22 minutes remaining in the session.
Still two seconds slower than what we can expect in qualifying, so a lot of track progression still to come. A lot of dust to be removed from the racing line.
Stoffel Van Dorn slots into 2nd position. We're on board with Jake Hughes, who has gone fastest and is cooling down. It sounded like he was sort of regenning all the way down, or at least lifting all the way down the bobsleigh run there. It looks, is he
getting out of the way?
He's getting out of the way, yeah.
And that's a topic here. I never wanted to get out of the way in a sharp complex of corners like that, just because there seems to be some more marbles and dust in between a complex of corners like we have here in Sector 1. I would always try and wait until a long straightaway. I just don't want to start my lap with tires that are Buemi radio.
Strong Sector 2.
Purple Sector 1 for Buemi. I just don't want to start a lap with clag on my tires. You know?
Yeah. How easy was that to do? Like on paper,
it's very difficult.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
paper, that's what you want, and that's what I ask my engineers to do for me.
But no one's saying, "Hey, can I move out the way in the slow, tricky stuff?" You know what I mean?
Right.
Everyone's aiming for that, I guess, aren't they? Buemi's gone top of the times on an 11.6. This is what happened to Rast. Okay. So Van Dorn tried to keep tight out of, I think, turn 14, and Rast sort of tried to keep tight out of there with him almost, or tried to then pass him out of there.
Yeah, weird one, that.
Yeah. I was expecting a bit more on a straight, and there was a bit of a move. That was a curious one indeed. Evans has gone 3rd fastest now in the Jaguar. Still half a second covering the top 10, so very, very tight indeed. Rast is back out on circuit. Kelvin van der Linde is in the pits. You'll see him down there in 21st place. He's replacing Robin Freitz this weekend. So Kelvin van der Linde racing for the Abt Cupra team. That's the only change from Mexico City 2 weeks ago. Here comes Stoffel Van Dorn with the fastest middle sector of anyone. Hughes is on another improving lap. Van Dorn into the chicane. Up at the top of the hill. And heads towards the final corner now. Buemi quickest for the moment, but I think that's about to change. Indeed it does. Hughes goes quicker on an 11.2. Van Dorn goes 2nd quickest. A quarter of a second away from Jake Hughes. A couple of tenths in Sector 1. About a 10th in Sector 2 as well, but he was a few hundredths up in the middle sector. There's Nigel Beresford and Oliver Turvey in the DS Penske garage. Watch the action unfold. Getting all layered up turvy in his nice little new jacket because it's pretty chilly out there.
It is.
You were quite chilly sitting in the booth.
I should have brought my thicker jacket today.
Yeah.
I looked at it leaving my room.
You're not in Florida now, Toto.
Yeah.
Less than 19 minutes to go. And there you can see track temperature 17, air 15 degrees, 20% probability of rain. But when the sun comes out, it's 20, 21 degrees. It's very pleasant, but it's been behind the clouds most of the day. Here comes Mortara out of turn 16 and up the hill again. As I say, mixed weekend for him here last year, a win and a DNS. But he's on the fastest middle sector of anybody, but he's gone in too deep into 18.
Locked the right front as he started the bend into the apex. Like we said earlier, that's something that these teams have been playing a lot with in order to find performance in these cars. It's just perfecting that deceleration of the software and the regen braking of the rear axle. You can hear it.
Yeah. You saw Hughes trying to find a gap there, which was not easy. He was basically pulled over by the side of the road as everyone streamed past him. He has got a bit of a gap now. And he's giving it some, coming down the bobsleigh run.
This is all throttle management through this section. Controlling the pitch of the car with the throttle. No brake until you get to turn 11 there. And then again, heavy brake into turn 14. Doesn't seem like he's pushing too hard on this lap, maybe preparing for a bigger push.
Roland goes up to 8th quickest. Hughes on this lap is a second and a half down on what he's managed previously. Van Dorn did a personal best in sector 1. Verne is up after the middle sector 2, so both DS Penske's threatening a bit of pace. Buemi has gone second quickest, 700ths away from Hughes.
He's just on an energy management lap right now, testing the management strategy for the race tomorrow. Usually teams get a couple of laps or dedicate a couple laps in practice to make sure all the systems are running properly for energy management. Of course, they're pushing flat out in qualifying, and we know how important that qualifying is.
There are the team principals.
Everyone looks so serious.
They do, don't they? Fred Bertrand's the only one standing in the Mahindra garage. That's why you can't see him. Everyone else... oh, no. Volpe's standing, isn't he, down there? They all look great. But they're all thinking, I don't want to watch me. I want to see the cars. Here is the Antonio Felix da Costa Porsche. Sergio City cameras just got second with his video.
Can he be proactive on duty?
So he's doing some energy runs. Did you say under or over?
Yeah, he said under consuming.
Yeah.
That's good information for the engineers on the pit wall. So he'll give him another manual setting to put on the steering wheel in order to try and perfect that energy used per lap, that number they have on the wheel.
Lotterer going ahead of him as they come into the right-hander of turn 21. 15 minutes to go. And Jean-Eric Verne is now at the top of the times on a 1minute 11.225. And he's now come into the pit lane. Nick Cassidy across the line to go 10th fastest in the Envision. Half second away from his teammate Sebastian Buemi at the moment, Nick Cassidy. And here's Lucas Di Grassi. Race winner, pole sitter I should say, and podium finisher. Last time out in Mexico City. Super day for Di Grassi there. And he's scored points in all but one of the 7 races we've had in Diriyah. Finished second for Audi in season 6 and third last season for Venturi. So very consistent finisher here, Di Grassi. We'll see whether he can recreate his heroics or not from Mexico City. I would be surprised, but stranger things have happened than Lucas Di Grassi pulling out a surprise result. 14 minutes to go. Van Dorn to the top of the times. DS Penske 1-2 at the moment. After the first 2 sectors, Degrassi's 1.8 seconds down, so I think he's on an energy management run at the moment for the Brazilian. Getting ready for his home E-Prix in a couple of weeks' time, which is in Sao Paulo, or a couple of months really, March, isn't it? And Degrassi up to the final corner. Sam Bird, you saw behind him, coming into the pits. Through he goes, and Degrassi remains in 14th position at the moment. Next across the line is the Neo.
Degrassi's experience really showed in Mexico, huh?
Yeah.
Being able to hold off a rookie in Jake Hughes with a 2% energy deficit. Doesn't sound like much, but his drive in Mexico is definitely one for the record books.
Yeah. So we're looking at Cassidy on the right-hand side, Sam Bird, who just come into the pits, and then one of the Mahindras and someone else. I didn't tell you before we lost it, but here comes Dan Tictum, who's down in 18th place at the moment. His teammate Sete Camera is 3rd fastest, but Tictum is 100th up after Sector 1. So we'll see what he can do. Through the right-hander of turn 16, we'll get his next sector split as he climbs the hill. Tictum, he's only 3,000ths away from Stoffel Van Dorn. This is going to be a competitive lap for Tictum.
He's pushing, huh?
Through the right, through the left. Really enjoying being able to be fighting at the front again after a difficult year at the back with Neo last year. Quickest. Dan Tictum, quickest. Found a huge amount of time in the final sector. Quarter of a second compared to Van Dorn in Sector 3.
I spoke to him before he went out. Super enthusiastic about the potential that he thinks he has this weekend. Radio from
He won
Tictum.
by 2/10, another push. Good man.
Mike Henderson giving him some encouragement. This man, Sacha Fenestras, just went 2nd fastest. The Nissan in his rookie year. A 10th slower than Tictum, the French-Argentine. Youngest driver on the grid. And he has gone 2nd fastest in the Nissan with less than 12 minutes to go. Van der Linde has only just gone back out on track, so that's a real shame because he obviously needs as much seat time as he can get, but he's only just gone back out on track after a problem.
Robin Friends, if you're listening, get well soon, buddy.
Robin, if you're listening, reply to my texts. 11, but also get well soon. After injuring his hand. A battery issue by the sounds of things for Van der Linde. So now he's back out on circuit and has just started a lap. Fenestras doing a cool-down lap as he comes into the final corner. 10 minutes and 40 seconds to go. As Fenestras comes across the line again, but did a cool-down lap that time around. So Tictum quickest, Fenestras 2nd, Van Dorn 3rd, Verline jumps up into 8th place in the Porsche. That is René Rast back in the pits for a tyre change. The other set of Hancocks going on there. Keep your eye on the tower on the left-hand side because you might see Verne jump to the top of it shortly. With 10 minutes to go because he's on a reasonable lap. And out of the pits again goes René Rast. Now here comes Calvin van der Linde. Let's see what he's up to. First ever single-seater race this weekend for the driver who grew up racing touring cars and GT cars. Verne goes 2nd fastest, 200 slower than Tictum. But let's see what van der Linde's looking like. He looked like he was pushing on in the shakedown session earlier on as he starts to drop down the hill. Apparently fairly nervous before he got going before that first shakedown session, but now he's chilled.
It's always easier after the first session.
Yeah.
So easy to overthink things before you get out there, and then you're just experiencing your
natural ability.
Talent takes over.
Yeah.
He's drinking out of a fire hose this weekend, I would say.
I love that phrase. I just love it.
Yeah.
We don't ever really use it in England because, I don't know why, but we should. 8 minutes and 55 seconds. And there's me thinking that was just you at the Mexico City after party.
No comment.
Across the line comes Van der Linde, 1.8 seconds away, but that was his sort of first competitive lap. And there is Sam Bird, just backing off to let Norman Nato in the Nissan go through. Bird trying to find himself a bit of a gap. Hughes is on another quick lap, almost 2 tenths up on Tickton. Yeah. Right, Verne looks like he's starting a push lap here. Crunks the curve into turn 1. And now down through the right-hander of turn 4. Here's his radio.
Braking a bit early, T21.
Okay, I think he's backed off, hasn't he? Yeah, it certainly felt like he started a push lap.
Oh yeah.
But now he's 2.5 seconds off at the end of the first sector. So Buemi goes to the top of the times on a 1 minute 10.889. Van Dorn's done a reasonable first sector. Hughes does go to the top, 300ths ahead of Buemi. And Van der Linde across the line again. He was only 6 tenths down after the first 2 sectors. Made a mistake actually, lost 1.5 seconds in the final sector alone. Here's René Rast, he's on personal best. This could, well, it'll put him up into the top 15, I'd have thought, if he hooks up the final chicane. And then the 2 corners after that, obviously. Mortara's done the fastest middle sector of anybody. Still, we've got a second separating the top 17. Here comes Rast. It is 6th fastest for the German. Here's a look at Norman Nato in the Nissan. He's coming up behind Edo Mortara. He's getting a bit of traffic here. Whoa! Just about got out of the way in time, didn't he? That was a tight one.
It's so hard to do, getting out of the way in this section. It's just so tight and so fast.
Tommaso Volpe on the
yep, thank you.
On the left-hand side. Right, here comes Sebastian Buemi into the final corner, and I think this is going to be a push lap here from Buemi down towards turn 1.
I don't see anyone. Okay, that's still good. This track position is good. We'll be pushing next lap. Just double check you're in push 300.
So in push mode here for Buemi. That was a little bit earlier on, obviously, before he started the lap that chat happened. And he's 6 tenths down after the first sector. So and he's getting caught here by, I wonder if he's backed off on this lap, Buemi. Yeah, he has, and dives out of the way of Kelvin van der Linde. 5 minutes and 40 seconds to go. Here is Sergio Sede Camara, fastest middle sector of anyone. He's only 4 thousandths down on Jake Hughes after the first 2 sectors.
I think when I had too much power, I lifted. I think I had too much power.
That's Nico Muller, I think, getting in the way of Sete Camara into the final corner. And Muller 16th.
So I'd give him a 10.5.
Yeah.
That he lost there. Sete Camara in the final corner.
He still improved on that lap, actually.
Yeah, he did.
A 1/4 second down on Jake Hughes. Here comes Gunter, 20th at the moment for Maserati MSG Racing. Less than 5 minutes to go. First 2 sectors, he's 7 tenths away. Where's Mortara? Mortara's in 9th place, only less than 3 tenths away, so not bad for them pace-wise. 4 minutes and 40 to go. Gunter only goes up to 17th quickest. Roland and Degrassi have shuffled down to 20th and 21st in the Mahindras, but Roland's on a better lap now. Slightly pained expression on the face of James Rossiter. Roland does jump up into 13th position. And here's René Rast going for it into turn 1.
He's been bested by his teammate consistently through practice sessions and the race in Mexico, so far here in Diriyah. But someone who has a wealth of experience in Formula E. Took, what was it, a year or two hiatus?
Yeah, a year.
So still knocking the rust off.
First sector for Rast is a 10th down on Van Dorn, so not too bad. We'll get his middle sector after this long right-hander of turn 16 up the hill. Oh, you can hear the car chirping. And his middle sector's reasonable. He's about 2/10 away here, so he's not going to find a huge chunk of time unless he becomes a Majid. He's not going to find any time. Too deep for René Rast.
Yeah, asked too much out of the rear tires there.
Comes across the line and remains in 10th position. So Hughes in the pits now, second quickest. Van Dorn has gone across the line actually to go quickest, hasn't he? He didn't spot that 1 minute 10.767. So Van Dorn back to the top of the times, the reigning champion, who only picked up 1 point from Mexico City. Is at the top right now. This is Oliver Rowland, who's jumped up into 15th place, has done a cool-down lap, and is now on another push. He's 2/10 away in Sector 1 from Stoffel Van Dorn.
Roland P1 here last year in FP1.
Yeah.
Obviously a clean slate for everyone with a new car, new tire.
We'll see what his middle sector split is here as he comes into 16. Roland is still only 2/10 away here, but again, I'm like, oh, he's only 2/10 away. That could put him top 10 if he's lucky. He's 2/10 away. Here he comes into the chicane. Hey, he's deep as well. So probably won't improve now. Dennis up into 5th in the Andretti. Jean-Eric Verne's on a big lap, huge lap. Van Dorn's on a good one as well. Roland out of the final corner and remains in 17th. Doesn't improve. Now here comes Jean-Eric Verne. It's fastest. It's a 1 minute 10.486, almost 3/10 quicker than his teammate. Van Dorn's losing time in the middle sector. Good lap from Evans to go 3rd fastest for Jaguar. But DS Penske 1-2.
This is what you wanted to see, Jags and DS making a comeback after both teams, some favorites I would say, for the championship this year. Both teams struggled in Mexico.
Yeah, but Verne was quickest in FP1. Van Dorn was 5th quickest in FP1 and 2. And then when it came down to it,
we're talking about practice.
Yeah. It's only practice, Oliver, don't get too excited. Here comes De Grassi out of the final corner. 5th quickest for Lucas De Grassi. 4/10 away from Jean-Eric Verne. Bird goes fastest on a 1 minute 10.4. Bird said to me actually after shakedown, he felt, you know, quite good in the car. And that he felt they had some good pace. Well, he's now just done a 10.4. Here's Sergio Sede Camera, who is up on Bird after the first 2 sectors. He's got Roland ahead of him in the Mahindra. Through the chicane. And he might be the last chap to do a lap here. Traffic from Da Costa. And that's Da Costa starting a final push lap. Sede Camera backing off to try and get enough space to do another push lap.
That's really heads up from Sete to slow down and have a chance to do another lap there without getting impeded.
Tickton goes 4th fastest. Checker flag is out, so these are the last lap times we're seeing now. Hughes goes 5th. Buemi has done a good first sector. Dennis has done a decent first sector. Cassidy's done a decent first sector. Buemi's done a good middle sector as well, actually. Here he is, coming up towards the chicane. He's only 400ths down. Dennis is only 200ths down. Onto the brakes comes Sebastian Buemi. Into the chicane, Season 2 champion.
Very well put together. One more corner.
Turn 21. Evans is up on teammate Bird. Here comes Buemi, it's only 6th. Lost quite a lot of time in that final sector. Gunter across the line in 19th. Rast goes up into 13th position. But we've got Evans Van Dorn and Cassidy all looking to go quick. Cassidy up into 4th place. Evans only goes 3rd. Doesn't quite beat Bird. And then Van Dorn's going to be the last one in the DS Penske. Can the reigning champion top the time? Here he comes into the final corner. Is it going to be enough? No. 4th for Stoffel Van Dorn. So, here's Bird's radio.
It's clear that the set of changes worked, but interesting how it's worked. So, yeah, okay, cool.
So that's Sam Bird saying it's good that the setup changes have worked, but interesting how they've worked. So obviously not quite what they were all anticipating there. Oliver Askew is now leaving the booth along with Karun Chandok and Nicky Shields and everybody else. I'm going to be all alone for a bit because they're getting ready for the FE show, which will be starting in 10 minutes time. So keep sticking with us after the end of free practice and you can join them for half an hour of Formula E previews. And you can also watch it on YouTube or carry on up watching wherever you are watching. And we'll be off with Vernon Kay and the gang to watch the FE show, which is a lot of fun in Mexico City. You can rewatch the Mexico City one on YouTube if you want, as we get to some practice starts. But Bird, this feels a little bit like vindication, because after pre-season testing, DS Penske and Jaguar felt like the top 2 teams. And now here they are, Jaguar 1st, DS 2nd, Jaguar 3rd, DS 4th. Jaguar 5th with Cassidy. This is Mitch Evans, who we're on board with, waiting to do his practice start. And just waiting for a bit of space ahead of him. You're meant to do your practice starts as far forward on the grid as you can when you get there. I.e. don't pull round the corner and do your practice start for 18th position, please. Porsche on the right-hand side. Verline and on the left-hand side, Nico Müller. Van der Linde ended the session slowest, but did almost half the running of anybody else. And I will tell you all, Robin Freitz has just texted me saying I do reply to your text messages. So, there we go. Thank you, Robin. Bird quickest. Oh, Oliver. He's saying Oliver. Very good. Bird quickest, Verne 2nd, Evans 3rd, Van Dorn 4th, Cassidy 5th. As they go through the chicane, here's Tictum about to do a burnout. Well, a practice start, I should say, when the lights go out. After another strong session for the Neo team. So, end of free practice 1. Sam Bird is quickest for Jaguar TCS Racing. Jean-Eric Verne 2nd quickest for DS Penske. 3rd for Mitch Evans. 4th for Stoffel Van Dorn. 5th is Nick Cassidy. Tictum, Hughes, Buemi, Degrassi and Jake Dennis completing the top 10. Half a second separating the top 10. But also, look at that big jump. Bird and Verne a little bit in a sort of league of their own there, with a 3/10 gap back to everybody else. Mortara in 11th. Fenestraz in 12th position. Rene Rast down in 15th spot. Verline and Da Costa 16th and 20th, which will be a little bit concerning for them. Lotterer and Van der Linde on his debut down in 22nd position. His teammate Nico Müller 9/10 of a second up the road at the moment, but I'm sure Van der Linde will improve with another session. Such a shame he missed so much running in that first practice session. So the rain didn't come in the end. There were a few spots of drizzle before we came into the booth, but it stayed dry. And Sam Bird, after 2 wins in Diriyah before, tops the times after free practice 1 in impressive fashion. 800ths clear of Jean-Eric Verne. He did the fastest final sector. His final sector was unbelievable, actually. His final sector was 3/10 quicker than anyone managed in the final sector. That's remarkable from Sam Bird. Everybody's basically the same in sector 1. There's some reasonable disparities in sector 2. For example, Bird was 3/10 slower than Jean-Eric Verne. Stoffel van Dorn finished the session 4th fastest for the DS Penske team. Over to have a chat with Oliver Turvey. This is on board with Stoffel van Dorn. Coming through the chicane, going through the attack mode loop, which is on the outside of the chicane there, and then gets annoyed with, oh, it's his teammate Vern. So I don't know what that was all about. Maybe Vern
you tried to pull up.
getting in his way as he came back.
Yeah, I think he tried to go on the inside.
And that was the chat about the incident with René Rast at the start. As Van Dorn heads out the back of the garage. It's 6:30 here in Diriyah, so now they'll get stuck into some data analysis after that. Stephen Lane, the race engineer on the right-hand side, who was Van Dorn's race engineer last year as he went on to win the title. A few spots of drizzle for the opening free practice session in the desert, but it didn't last too long, and it was pretty much dry running for the first half hour of running under the lights in Diriyah. Jake Dennis, the championship leader. Antonio Felix da Costa getting ready to head out. Max Gunter still looking for his first points of the season. And he and Eduardo Mortara for Maserati MSG were first out on circuit. Jake Dennis ended up the session in 10th place. Eduardo Mortara in the early stages just trying to get some temperature into the tyres. Sebastian Buemi looked impressive in the early stages, ended the session 8th quickest. Then there was this odd collision as Van Dorn tried to get out the way of Rast. The two collided and said to each other, "What did you do?" "I don't know, what did you do?" Rast returned to the pits with a damaged front wing. Damage is an understatement, really. It's barely there. So then Jake Hughes was trying to find a bit of a gap. Jean-Eric Verne trying to find gaps as well. Very tricky to avoid the traffic. But in the end, it was Sam Bird who ended the session fastest for Jaguar TCS Racing. So, the first race of the weekend coming up tomorrow. Free practice 2 gets underway tomorrow afternoon. That'll be in the daylight, and most of qualifying actually will be in the daylight as well. But the race will be under the lights in chilly conditions as Sasha Fenestraz starts to layer up. So make sure you join us for free practice tomorrow, but then qualifying and the race getting underway tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. local time. But to bring you up to speed on everything you might have missed post the Mexico City E-Prix a couple of weeks ago, if you stick with us, we're going to head down to the pit lane to join Vernon Kay, Karun Chandok, Oliver Oskew and everybody else for the Formula E show. New era of Formula E. All 5 lights are off. And there's the attack. Whoa, super deep. Gone for it, and he's got it. That was a huge moment. Brand new car, brand new season. And we go green in Diriyah.
Hi everyone. everyone, and welcome. We are live. We are in Diriyah. Yes, we are in Saudi Arabia. Can you believe it? It's been raining all afternoon and all yesterday. However, we are in the middle of the desert, so we are expecting some sunshine. This is round 2 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. Vernon Kay and Oliver Askew with you for the FE Show. Welcome. Oliver, before we crack on into what's about to happen here in Diriyah, let's talk about what happened at our first race, the debut of the Gen 3 car in Mexico City. It was quite spectacular.
It was, and we saw this guy behind us with the 7th largest victory in Formula E history, which was super impressive. Happy for these guys. Different story here in Diriyah, completely different track. Well, yeah, it's cold as well. It's a night race. As we saw in that practice, the running order was a bit flopped from what we saw in Mexico City. I think we can expect to see a fantastic race here this weekend as well.
All in all, though, the Gen 3 car did exactly what we wanted it to do, didn't it? It performed well. A lot of people were talking about the brakes. A lot of people were talking about performance, the battery, etc., etc. But all in all, it did exceptionally well, and it looked really impressive on track.
It did, and super difficult to drive from what it looks like.
Which is fun.
Yeah, it's good for us, not so much for the drivers.
Yeah, but that's what they're paid for, Oliver.
That's right.
Come on.
That's right.
They're professional racing drivers. They're not jockeys. That's what they're paid to do.
They're all dealing with the same thing. It's super challenging. It's a harder tire, faster car. So with that combination, it's a great action.
All right, let's bring in Roger Griffiths, the boss, the big boss man here at Andretti, and let's bring in Jake Dennis, the man who stood on top of the podium. Congratulations, blow me up. Oh no, we're doing a proper handshake. There you go. Mike, can you just get a shot of Mike handing in the microphones on his knees, please? Because you know this is the Formula E show. That's Mike, everyone. He makes sure that we sound lovely and beautiful. Congratulations, Jake, on your win in Mexico City, the debut of the Gen 3 car. At the start of the race, when you were sat up at the front, you were surprised that the car performed well in qualifying, and even more surprised that you were spraying champagne in Mexico City. Why?
I just think because Valencia didn't really give us too much hope. We really struggled with just getting the package in the right window. Valencia is always like a standout track, you know, it's not a street circuit, so you have to take it with a pinch of salt, but even still, I left there a little worried, but, you know, we turned it around. We obviously had a really good package as a whole as Porsche, so, yeah, the team did a great job to, you know, turn it around.
Let's bring in Roger. Roger, don't stand over there. You're the man in charge. You're the gaffer. Congratulations. You look really pleased at the end of that race. Was it a bit of relief?
No, I think, as Jake said, it was almost surprised, to be honest. I mean, we didn't come to Mexico City with high hopes of a podium, let alone a race win. I mean, as Jake mentioned, we'd underperformed in Valencia, but really credit to the engineering team and the effort they put in over the Christmas break, and you know that they sacrificed a lot of their own personal time to turn it around for us, and you know they delivered when it was necessary, and obviously Jake did all the hard work behind the wheel. So no, super pleased with the way things turned out.
Jake, tell us about FP1. You're 10th quickest. Now under the lights, much colder than Mexico when you ran away with a win.
Yeah, completely different track conditions, but you know, it's great to be back here. The track is so nice and flowing, even in these cars. You know, in between the walls, it feels so fast through that middle sector. So to experience that again certainly feels a lot faster than the numbers say. But yeah, it was an okay session. I had a few issues on my side of the garage, so I think we've definitely have, you know, the potential to be up there. It seems like the DS package have turned it around, and the Jaguar seem a lot more competitive. So I think, you know, the battle to get into the top 6 now is going to be extremely tense. I'm confident that we can improve on the things what we've got to work on. So yeah, we just need to work hard tonight and turn it around for tomorrow.
Roger, Oliver, is there anything in particular that you've looked at for this race coming out of Mexico City?
Not really. I mean, we've had a good history here. I mean, we've had 2 wins here. We've had 2 pole positions. Jake was on the podium last year. Andre's been on the podium here as well. So we know this track pretty well. We've been very competitive here in the past. It's really just trying to be able to translate what we've done in the past to the new car. And I'm sure we'll be working hard this evening and, you know, come back stronger in the morning.
Nice.
Jake, this was one of your stronger tracks last year, as Roger mentioned. Do you feel any comparisons? Can you bring anything to this year in this new car?
I actually don't think you can. It's a good question, just because, you know, it's the same track, but you know, just with the differences between these two cars, it's so difficult to really transfer over. As you experienced in Mexico when we spoke on the grid, like last year you could really combine the car, the tyre really allowed you to do that, and that really like paid dividends at a circuit like this through that middle section, whereas now we're even having to like V-style the corners through this middle part of the lap. So basically go in straight, turn, and then exit straight, whereas last year you could
like
do
a Tesco's car park?
Yeah, like a Tesco's trolley.
Right, okay.
No, like
nice,
you have to like just turn it like that. That's basically how we're driving these cars, whereas last year you could really like go around in one circular motion through the corner, so completely different driving style. But you know, more laps we do, the more use we do, the more the more used to the track you will become.
And car. Yeah, all right. Thank you, gentlemen. Roger, if you just give me your microphone, we're going to say thank you and good night, and then we're going to go and find Roman. Cheers, Jake. Appreciate that. Come with me, Oliver. We're going to find Roman Bierfeld. Here he is.
Hey, I recognize some of these guys.
Yes. Hi, Roman. Let me give you that. No, you're a performance engineer for the Andretti team. And we talk a lot, don't we, about data and everything that you can do to manipulate the car for certain tracks, for certain drivers, for different driving styles. Just tell us and explain to us, if you can, your role. What is a performance engineer?
Well, my main job is essentially just looking for lap time and trying just to improve the symbiosis between driver and the car. For the performance engineer in Formula E, that's mainly related to the on-car software. So, because the big advantage of Formula E is the software is free, so there's a lot of things you can adjust for specific corner phases, for specific corners.
And just explain to us what impact the data has on the car when you change it. What are you talking about in particular?
The data is absolutely crucial. So, main thing is starting very simple from a driver point of view. We're starting driving lines, then we're looking at tire slips and essentially forces and acceleration.
All right, let's slow down a little bit. Slow down a little bit. Tire slips, how does the data, what do you get data-wise when it comes to tire slips, and how does the data change that? Just explain to us, because all we think of data is ones and zeros, okay? Right, so there's a lot of people watching who really want to get into the technicalities of what you guys do with data.
To put it more simple, you just follow in the data the car around the track, and you see how does it behave, and are we maximizing the performance of the car in this corner at that corner, and then you're analyzing in specific corners, corner faces, are we at the maximum or not, and what do we need to change essentially on the software to extract that.
And to make it the performance better.
Exactly.
Right, perfect.
Let's talk about FP1, P10. Are you happy? Still room to improve?
He's a performance engineer. There's no way he's happy.
Obviously not. I mean, it's kind of medium. Had a bit of traffic in there, but also still a lot of things to improve on the car. And not at the optimum yet. And I mean, for us, it's always the same. We just take session by session, step by step, keep on improving things. And that's how we always work. And we're going to improve it. And there's still more to come. So
your job technically on your CV, are you a data analyst? Are you a programmer?
Yeah, exactly. I'm a performance engineer, essentially is a data analyst / driver coach as well. It's not only about the raw data itself, you also need to make sure that you're actually maximizing the symbiosis between driver and the car, because the guys are doing the job at the end of the day, and sometimes us engineers are just looking at it from the outside, but the working together of both man and machine is essentially what makes the lap time happen, so something important to consider as well.
And let me ask you this question, it's only a quick question. Are you a PS5 person or are you an Xbox person?
Just a PC person, obviously.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, of course you are. So do you play Call of Duty?
No, not Call of Duty, obviously.
What's your game of choice? Are you a sim driver?
iRacing in Assetto Corsa, but a pretty bad one.
Oh, he's a proper gamer. Let's talk about these tyres, because these have really thrown a spanner in the works when it comes to your data, I would imagine, because they're completely different to the Michelins that we had last season.
Absolutely.
So what have you been trying to do? How have you been trying to manipulate the data to get the best performance out of these tyres?
The data, we don't manipulate. But obviously, at the beginning, we look at the basic characteristics of the tire, how are the characteristics different. So first of all, they have different temperature characteristics, different camber characteristics. At the end of the day, it means for the drivers, lower grip, and it's more on the knife edge to drive in corner entry, so that phase of turn in and brake release, the window is just narrower, hence why it's more difficult for the drivers to drive. We start, first of all, making the car as predictable as possible, whilst also looking at how to maximize tire grip. That is more so important on that track, because you have that mountain section up there where rhythm is very important, and how to place the car, because if you're out of shape on one corner, the whole sector is gone.
I think I've just found a new best friend in the paddock.
One last question for you. Is this a championship year for the number 27 and Jake Dennis?
Wow, that's a big question.
Is it too early to answer?
I always take it session by session, lap by lap.
There you go.
I'm not thinking about that. I'm looking, okay, now is FP2 coming, what can I improve? But at the end of the day, it's for everyone who's competing the target. That's why we travel around, because we want to win ultimately. So yeah.
All right, brilliant. One last quick question, I promise you. To become a performance engineer for a racing team, what did you do? What did you study? Because a lot of people watching this were thinking, I want to do that. Sounds amazing.
I started studying mechatronics, then I studied actually advanced motorsport engineering. At the end of the day, what you need to do is start in small series, offer your help, often also for free, and then just essentially you need to try to always improve year by year, and then your time will come when you're ready, and then you have to make sure you're ready, and essentially you need passion and commitment, and that's what you need, yeah.
Brilliant. Roman, thank you very much.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
What a fascinating insight.
Add me on iRacing.
Sorry?
Add me on iRacing.
Oh, okay.
All right, thank you very much. Enough chitter chat. I think that's my fault for bringing that into the room. I apologise. Right, Nikki Saunders, where are you at?
Thanks very much, guys. That was absolutely fascinating. I feel like I have learned, well, more in the last 5 minutes than I have all week. That was brilliant. Thank you. Yes, I am joined by our digital presenter, Saunders CB, and we've kind of tried to be the ears and eyes, keeping an eye out on what all the drivers have been up to since unwinding from the stresses of the first race in Mexico to getting pumped up and prepped for Diriyah, which is difficult, but I think we're managing it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of things that they get up to. They're drivers. They've got interesting lives, and we need to be there on the pulse, figuring out what makes them tick, and also how their mindset is ahead of a race, because that gives us a lot to talk about. Exactly. Now, I saw what you were up to early in the week, and I'm very jealous. In the desert with McLaren, rock climbing.
Yeah, it was pretty mega, actually. So we went to this region called Neom, which is about 2 hours from Riyadh, where we are at the moment. And obviously, being the Neom McLaren Formula E team, we got to have a little bit of fun. Now, you can see how stunning the scenery is here. But we put the drivers to the test. We sent them rock climbing. And I've got to say, Ian James, Jake Hughes, phenomenal. They flew up there. Rene Rast. Oh, bless him. Sorry, Rene, but I am going to have to tell everyone this. Unfortunately, terrified of heights. Wouldn't do it. Wouldn't even climb up a couple of meters high. So, yeah, unfortunately, Rene didn't take part in that. But what was really nice was just to have a proper catch-up with him, kind of off-record, although now I'm going to put it on record, but off-record, just to listen to Rene speak, because obviously, you know, Jake Hughes, he had this phenomenal performance. His rookie race, qualified third, finished fifth, absolutely commanding. Poor Rene didn't qualify well. He was down in 15th, didn't have a good race, didn't finish. But he was still really chuffed for his teammate. You know, he wasn't sort of bitter, which I think some of the guys down the grid can be if their teammate is doing better than them. He was just, really chuffed for the result, and I think they are going to work really well together. And Jake was still saying, look, Rene is still an absolute pro here. He is the expert when it comes to Formula E. He's got lots of experience. He's also 3-time DTM champion. So I think, you know, Jake's had we can see him here in his first race. He's had... not the first race, sorry, in the first session today. We can see how great Jake is. He's spent a lot of time in the simulator, and he is managed to convert that into performance here. But he's also still very much looking to his teammate for advice, and that's really nice to see.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, it is easy to forget, though, even though he's very much a rookie when it comes to racing in Formula E, he's had quite a lot of experience behind the scenes with Mercedes EQ in previous seasons. So he's got the knowledge of what it takes to kind of build a strategy, how you learn a track, all that kind of stuff, which is really valuable. But the other massive thing about the rookies this year is the massive reset we've had on the championship. You know, really, talking to Sasha Fenestras is interesting because he actually feels that he's got a slight advantage because he can come into a season learning everything from scratch with a fresh perspective, where maybe some of these veterans hold on to some of the old habits going into a completely new car.
Well, speaking of veterans, Sam Bird, he is about to celebrate his 100th Formula E race. He is one of the OGs. Unfortunately, he really had a torrid end to season 8. Didn't go well for him. And he's been hoping to turn things around in season 9. Didn't go so well in Mexico, but he has had the chance to enjoy his time here, having a bit of a kick around with one of the local football teams.
Yeah, he went down to Al Bilal, which is football's a massive thing for Sam. Like, as much as he's a driver and loves motorsport, I think originally as a child and as a young adult, he loves football. So he got amongst it, met some players, some ex-Premier League players as well. You can see him here kicking up. He's a pretty impressive football player. He has skills on the ball, he definitely does.
Okay, let's see how he does here.
What do you mean?
Not bad.
I'll
Very
take
good,
it.
Sam Bird. Okay, I'm impressed there. Okay, so he still has a career in football if it doesn't go well this season?
Let's get back to that.
Let's go back to his performance today, because he's actually done really well in the first session here. FP1, top of the standings.
Exactly where he needs to be to bounce back from Mexico. You know, he needs to be showing that he's got the pace, and that's what he's done in the first chance of asking. Interestingly, I spoke to him on the track walk today, and he's confident. He is confident.
That's
and
what we like to
hear. There's no reason why he wouldn't be, because he's won here twice.
Right, let's take a look at some of the rookies. We've got Sasha Fenestras here, who he actually did a solid job. He managed to qualify into the duels on his debut performance in Mexico City. Unfortunately, couldn't really convert that into the points. He had trouble with energy management during the course of the race, and obviously that is pretty fundamental in Formula E. But I think a great positive sign to show to the team. In fact, there we are. He is that was his qualifying lap, I think, in Mexico. And I think he's just shown to the team that they have got the pace and the performance. So now they just need to convert that qualifying performance into race performance and manage that energy much more smartly during the course of the race.
I think all the rookies can be very proud of themselves, because they've done incredibly well to put themselves in great positions in the race and in qualifying, be up there in the timings as well. It's a big ask, come to a new championship, new car, everything like that. And this week, this doubleheader, we have an even newer rookie, someone that hasn't had any experience racing in Formula E, just one solid test session back in 2020, Kelvin van der Linde in for Robin Freins.
No pressure when he's arriving at a track where the walls are very tight. I mean, this is a proper traditional street circuit. So yeah, he really does have all the ingredients of a proper Formula E race here. We can see him enjoying himself with his teammate, Nico Müller. I mean, what I loved, I chatted to Thomas Biermeier, who you can see is giving Kelvin there a bit of a pat on the back. And I spoke to Thomas and he was like, look, all I want him to do is come and have fun. I want him to enjoy himself. I want him to be relaxed. If he's relaxed, we might get some results, but it doesn't matter about that at this point. Let's just see how he does, let him enjoy himself. And I think it kind of looks like what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one thing he has to be thinking about now is a new experience racing under the lights, and can he do it in the dark? Well, we spoke to some drivers who have done it, and here's what they had to say.
Right.
The biggest difference between racing at night and racing during the day is actually the temperature. The way the lights are set up here, it's so bright that you don't have any problem with actually seeing the track or anything like this. But the temperature is much colder, especially in the desert. At night, the temperature really drops, and Riyadh, you can see, is extremely cold. Adding that to having no sun, the tires will suffer the most, and that's where we have to take care and make sure that the setup of the car is properly done so we can have a good race.
Obviously, the contrast and the colors can be a little bit different, so you kind of need to adapt a little bit to that. Obviously, we do qualifying and free practice during the day, and definitely it's a little bit different at night. You kind of need to adapt, but I do enjoy it, and yeah, so I like it.
The visors that we use are slightly different, so during the day I'll use a dark oil-coated visor. At night I don't use a clear because actually it's still very bright from the lighting around the circuit. What I'll use is a slightly slicked dark visor, so like just a lighter version.
I find it more exciting. As you mentioned, you know, it's the only night races that we have like in the FE calendar, so it makes it a little bit even more special, I would say. Really enjoy it. We should definitely have more of them, and I think also for the people and for the show, I think it tends to be a little bit better also, I think.
It just makes the race a bit more magical. It makes it really fun for the spectator, makes it fun for us drivers as well. But certainly on TV, it looks absolutely unbelievable, and I think that more people should watch it.
It's gonna be special. Will you join myself and Karun in the pit lane studio? Welcome Simon on camera. RF6 is currently earning his money. Karun, Sam Bird hit the nail on the head. Magical. That's how it feels.
Yeah, I tell you what, it feels very cold at the moment.
Yeah, it does.
It does seem to be unseasonably cold at the moment, and that is a real challenge, as Lucas de Grassi was saying. You know, when it goes into the dark, the track temperature drops down to 16 degrees. I mean, the track itself is a really interesting layout. You've got 21 corners, Radzi, but in the first half of the lap, from turn 1 down to turn 14, the drivers never really get the steering wheel straight. They're constantly having to pick their line really well and thread the eye of the needle. Turn 18 is the best overtaking opportunity on the track, and at turn 19 around the outside, you've got the attack mode. Now, we saw in free practice today, Sam Bird going to the top of the times, but Jean-Eric Byrne was only 800 behind him. So we got his onboard lap. Let's go on board the DS Penske car and take a look at this fantastic circuit. As I said, turn 1, when you turn through here, watch his hands. He's never really getting the wheels straight, and you constantly just having to pick your positioning, you know, because at this stage, he's already having to think about not just the corner coming up there, but also the next one. And if you're slightly offline, you know, if the car, you look at where his wheels are at the moment, if his wheels are just there, you're not talking a lot, it compromises his line for the next corner. So it's so important. As I play on, you'll see just picking the positioning on the curb and where you get to that wall on the outside and how close do you get to it. You know, Jev here, it doesn't look like it, but he is actually leaving a little bit of a margin. That, when we get to qualifying, will be nothing at all. They will literally be kissing the wall. Now, as we get through this sector of the lap, it goes slightly uphill, and, you know, you could see these elevation changes and the bumps as well. Watch his hands seesawing on the wheel. 14 here, a tight right-hander. And now the track starts to open up. The car starts to breathe a bit. The next right-hander here, I think, is massively important. 16, watch his hands here. He's constantly making these little micro corrections if we slow it down. And there, those bumps there in the middle of the corner, they can catch the drivers out. Jeff getting a big snap of oversteer as he comes out. Bumpy as we get down the straight here. And this is actually where the start of the race will be when we get into it tomorrow. But as we get down towards 18 and 19, the right-left chicane, he has a massive snap of oversteer, and that fully compromised his line to the, you know, if I go back there a little bit, you can see, just watch his hands. I'll slow it down there, the correction, and that's put him further to the left-hand side. So actually, I think he would have ended up a good chunk ahead of Bird's time, if not for that error at the chicane. But as I say, it's a really fascinating track to drive. I'm not surprised that the drivers really enjoy it, because that first half in particular is a tremendous challenge for everyone in the cockpit.
That was a proper exhibition. Thank you very much for that, Karun. It's safe to say, Vern, it's going to be undulations, opportunities to overtaking, and it's basically a case of expect the unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, we spoke to a couple of drivers when they did FP1, and they were all exhausted. They were saying, you don't stop. There's no kind of moment of error, really, I guess. You just got to keep going.
No, and they're going to keep pushing the limits as the weekend goes on. As we saw, good job on the replay.
Yeah, well done,
by the way,
Karun.
That was nice.
Yeah, it's not his first rodeo.
Really good piece there. You're right. Jack, what are you doing?
Jack's being an idiot is what he's doing. There he is, Jack Nichols, our commentator with Saunders there. Now, I just want to point out these new garages that we've got at Formula E. We've got a massive LED frontage of all the teams' garages. And you get the drivers, and then it animates, and you can see the drivers doing their whooping and hollering and their cheering. They've got all the team sponsors on there as well. Formula E is really innovative when it comes to stuff like this, because I've never seen this before, and I apologise if other race formulas do it, but that's the first time that I've seen it, and I really like it. And we've come outside the Porsche garage, and we should talk about Porsche, because they had a great weekend in Mexico City, didn't they, Oliver?
They did, and they were able to capitalize on their experience last year. So finishing 1 and 2, and now finishing 1 and 3. Yes, different teams, but the same powertrain between Avalanche Andretti and Porsche, the works team behind us. Let's talk about what they can compare against each other, not just the software settings, but also driving data. They have 4 drivers.
Sorry, Oliver. I was being signalled by one of their engineers, and then I thought he was saying, "Oh, come on in and have a look." And then what he really meant was, "Move out the way. We're moving the car."
There it is.
All right. Well, we'll hold
look.
this conversation, and we'll find out what our Darren has been up to during the week.
I'm currently down here at the Allianz Fan Village, which is honestly one of my favourite parts of Formula E. There's so much for you to come and explore during the race day and just soak in the atmosphere here with everything from gaming to music to food. But one of my favourite sections, especially if you remember Formula E Accelerate, is of course the gaming arena, which I'm about to go and check out now. Okay, nicely humbled there, going back on the simulator after a while. But it's amazing that you can come down to the E-Village, have a go on this. It's actually the same circuit that the drivers are going to be racing on this weekend, which is amazing. And you can also check out the drivers' lap times on here to see how you can compare. But I'm not too sure looking at my lap that I'm going to make it up on the leaderboard, but you should definitely get involved and check it out.
Nice, looks like a lot of fun. Anyway, we were saying, Oliver, before we were rudely interrupted by the Porsche car, and right on cue. There he is. Pascal, here's your microphone, my friend. First of all, congratulations. This is going to be your 50th Formula E race.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
How does that feel? Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. I start to feel old.
No, hey, listen, don't you dare talk about age to me,
There's
young
no
man.
grey hairs there yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
But quite a career in Formula E.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I mean, the journey has been great so far. Yeah, really liked it. I mean, slowly also the results are coming in. I think we were working hard for that the last couple of months and years, let's say. But very happy. Me personally, I'm in a super good place and very happy. And yeah, I just want to win more races.
Nice, like that.
You have a new teammate this year, someone who is experienced in Formula E and in motorsport in general, massively experienced. I don't think he has an enemy in the paddock. Like, he's a super happy-go-lucky guy. How has his addition to the team made a difference?
I mean, Antonio is a super cool guy. First of all, on a, let's say, on a personal level, but also as a teammate. You know, having him in the team with all the experience he has. I know him since a long time. We raced already together in F3 like 10 years ago in Macau.
What were you, like 9?
Exactly. And also in DTM. So, and yeah, I have a really good relationship with him. Like you say, he's a super easy guy. And yeah, no, it's great that he's here and looking forward to work with him.
Nice. We've got some footage of your overtakes in Mexico City. That was a great weekend for you. Second place. Porsche, both with the factory team and the customer team as well, did exceptionally well. What was it like driving the Gen 3 car in anger for the very first time?
It was great. I mean, before the weekend, we didn't know what to expect, really. It's the first time racing it, and we didn't know where we are in terms of performance, so it was good to start well into the season. And I had a lot of fun. I mean, I started in P6, finished P2, so had some good fights, super strategy, and yeah, overall a very good start.
Nice.
And one final question. Do you think you can replicate that success here this weekend? Different track, different conditions. How do you feel?
Yeah, at the moment, FP1 didn't go too well, to be honest. A little bit off the pace at the moment, but yeah, it was just a first session. So I think we know where we need to work on and what we need to change. Hopefully it works tomorrow, but for sure this track needs different characteristics of the car than Mexico.
Perfect. Pascal, you go back and get warm because it's getting a little bit chilly. Give me the microphone. Good luck for the weekend. Appreciate it, my friend. Nice guy. It's going to be an interesting race weekend here in Diriyah. Make sure you tune in. Check times local. Find out when we're on. And we'll see you next time.